Today, we're going to do a review of the Marketer's Heart event. Now, this was a 2-day virtual summit, and originally, I believe it's meant to be in person. It was in Brooklyn the first time. The second time, I believe this is the second time, I could be wrong. And then it was online. And then the third time is going to be in person in Florida at Disney World. So the big question is, what is it? What did they cover? And is it worth it? So we will try to answer all of those today. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from Pretty Fabulous, and I help online businesses create beautiful digital downloads using Adobe InDesign. So if this sounds like you or something you might be interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. I post new videos every Monday and Thursday, and I do unboxings or reviews like today on Saturdays. Now, this event, let's just go over the cost first. It was $97, and I believe if you upgraded to VIP, it was $497, and the VIP included a swag box, access to the recordings, and also a extra day with Julie just to go over how to implement everything that you learned. Now, the theme of the conference is integrity, right? And how to market with, I don't want to say authenticity, because that's just, I don't think they really emphasize that. I think it was just more of being honest and forthright. I'm just making up synonyms now, but they had a better description on their website. So the big question is, what was the theme? I think that was the theme. A lot of the presentations were very just basic beginner, so it was a little confusing. But before I go more into that, let's just go ahead and jump right into going through each of them. And just to give you a little background, if you've never heard of Julie and Kathy, the two of them make up the team Funnel Gorgeous, the company, the brand, and they put out sales templates. They put out training on how to use those templates. They put out training on how to create funnels, how to create offers, how to create a course. So they have a lot of great products out there. I actually am a customer of both. Two of their products. One is Launch Gorgeous, and another one is the FG Society, which is the marketing certification that I received. And I do believe I got a lot of value from both of them. So let's just talk about the Marketer's Heart event, because that's, to me, events are a little bit different than actual training, mostly because there's so many other speakers. So I'm going to flip the camera. We're going to go through each of those speakers so you can see a visual of who they are, because a lot of them I had never heard of until today. We are on the 2021 sales page for this live event, and it was basically all about not being scammy or manipulative and leading your business and your audience with integrity and heart and, all those cute little buzzwords. So you get a sense of what you think the speakers will be talking about, but you don't actually see the agenda or any of the topics. And instead, you just get this list of speakers with their bios. So I'm just going to go through each one of them and kind of what my takeaways were from what they talked about. So Julie, I'm a big Julie fan. Everything she says, I'm like, oh my God, a light bulb goes off. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. So she did the welcome with Kathy, and then she went into 3 different presentations, one about just having your voice in social media. And it was kind of basic, if you've never been on social or you're just not sure what you're doing there, that was, I guess, useful for somebody else. She also talked about experience first selling, just make sure you've done it first, which kind of like, I'm not really sure that I've actually met anybody, unless you've stolen someone else's course, that didn't actually do all the things that they're teaching. And then cult marketing, that was actually, I loved it. This was such a good buzzword. And this rings so true for me, because I've never told one of those crazy stories of like how I've always wanted to do this since I was like 5, and how I was living with food stamps and homeless with 5 kids. Because sometimes when people say that, I'm like, really, you just went from being homeless to having this laptop and internet access and creating a website, and now you're making thousands and thousands of dollars every day? Like, I don't know if I believe you. So I love that she said that and called that out, and how she identified all this emotional manipulation that people are doing, and how they're tugging on people's strong desires or dreams and just promising them that they'll make a lot of money and just kind of gaslighting them. And that really was like, I've never heard anyone just kind of voice it and be able to pinpoint exactly what's going on with a lot of the people that are selling things. And I kind of feel like that's the old style of selling things, where I've been on webinars where they'll say, you can keep doing the old way of doing it where you're not making any money and just be a loser, or you can join my $10,000 program, right? So, that kind of selling always felt icky to me. And, that's why I really like that presentation. Kathy did one on branding, and it was just a good reminder to be consistent with everything in your logo and your marketing. And, that's honestly, it was that confirmation I needed that it was a good investment for me to spend on my latest web redesign and rebrand of all of my programs and courses and everything else. Because I really just wanted everything to have the same look and feel. And then Regina, I'm actually a huge fan of her. She talked about SEO, but honestly, it was kind of a very cursory overview. She did show you how to use some SEO tools, but in general, her main message was just to niche down. As we move down here, we have Nicole McDonough or whatever. She was an instructor inside of Launch Gorgeous when I took that fall course, and honestly, nothing she says resonates with me. I feel like everything she talked about was completely useless. And now I know Julie's a big fan of her because of the Enneagram, the personality, and I 100% agree that doing a personality test and really figuring out your strengths and how to apply those in your business and your life and everything else is very powerful. However, everything that she said was so generic. I didn't get anything out of it. She actually had a second presentation too, which was about setting the tone in your culture and teams and leadership development training. And as a former HR executive for over 20 years, I did not buy into anything that she was saying just because I've gone through and I've actually done a million of those trainings. So nothing really rang true for me. I don't think it was helpful. I think it's a much more involved process than the one that she presented, but that was just my take on that. Elise Starman talked about video on Instagram, and as you know, I have left that platform, and she didn't really talk about anything earth-shattering, just telling you, video's great, go out and use it. The next one, Tamara Zantel, I think she was a no-show. I didn't see anything from her in the replay. And then Ara Scheinbein talked about having your just desserts and, enjoying money. Basically, it was just a presentation about compound interest and how you should invest in the market. So I don't even know where that presentation came from or why it was inside there. The next one is Jordan Gill. And Jordan Gill talked about podcasting, which, as you know, I'm not a podcaster. So I actually didn't even listen to it because I would rather watch paint dry than listen to a podcast or anything about a podcast. So it could have been great. I have no idea. The next one was Trina Little, and she talked about YouTube, and she did show you how to use TubeBuddy for SEO. But as far as the subject of this conference, which was integrity, she did not touch on that at all. She basically just talked about the basics of YouTube, which obviously, because I'm a YouTuber, I didn't really get anything from it. Lindsay Padilla, I don't think she had a presentation either. I didn't see anything. Rose Guthrie had a presentation on Pinterest. So she went over, again, just the basics, nothing on ethical things, but she did emphasize that you should be maybe using ads on Pinterest, something I haven't thought about. The next one is Nick Pavlidis, and this is I was surprised this was in here. This guy to me is 100% a scam artist, so I don't know why he was in a presentation about integrity. So he's talking about his book, and first of all, his book is ranked really low, and then he's saying how he's going to help you for $1,000 to help you rank your book. And as a US Today bestselling author, I can tell you, I obviously have not taken the course, but just looking at it and the whole sales shtick felt very, like Julie said, it felt like cold marketing, and I just felt like this was a scam. Over here we have Stephanie Dove Blake. Now, Stephanie talked about ads with integrity. Again, it was the same thing. She just talked about, that was the name of her presentation, but she really just talked about Facebook and how, you should think about stuff that is above the fold and things that are your first comment and the images that are above the fold. So it wasn't really anything to do with manipulation or just staying, I guess, heart or true or whatever it was. And then over here we have Julia Taylor, and Julia spoke about, honestly, I have no idea what her company is about, what she is about, what she was talking about. I mean, she's not a bad person. I'm very confused on what she offers and what she does. So I really can't comment on that because it's one of those things where, like, how sometimes you click with people, whatever the opposite of that is, that's kind of how I felt about when she was talking. I didn't understand anything going on. Matt DeSeno Ardiseno, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. He talked about strategic partnership with ethics. Now, he really did talk about ethics and how when you go to do collaborations, you should just go into it knowing that you may never get anything back out of it, and that's totally okay. And instead of trying to find people, like they always say, that are about the same size as your audience, just find anybody and just kind of say okay when people come to you for collaborations. So the big question is, was it worth it? I mean, to be fair, this was a virtual event, and I know the in person has a lot of different components, but for me, it was not worth it. Only because I don't feel like I do a lot of slimy marketing. I don't feel that I'm in danger of accidentally doing underhanded or manipulative things in my sales, because I always say to everyone, that's why I have no return requests, because I never do a hard pressure sale. And I just kind of feel like if you want to buy my products, I feel like I price them fairly. I feel like I'm providing as much value as I can. And yeah, sometimes there's maybe a mismatch here and there. But for the most part, I try to be as open and non pressure as possible, just because I think for me, I have Clifton Strengths. If you've ever taken a personality test, Clifton Strengths is by far my favorite. So I have analytical as like number 6 in my top strengths, which means that I cannot be swayed by emotional sales pressure pitches. Like, when you get on those discovery calls sometimes for anything, for coaching, and they'll be like, well, what do you picture your life to be like in 5 years, and how would that make you feel? Which really feels super hokey and disingenuous, and it really honestly just annoys me. So I would never do that to people, but I feel like when I go to assess something, I just want to know the nuts and bolts of something. And so what is my point? My point is that I'm not really in danger of doing any of the non-integrity things or trying to be aware of them or let other people like warn them about them, because I don't really feel like that's the message that I'm here to spread or anything that I'm really honestly that interested in. So my point is, for me, it wasn't worth it. However, if that is something that you're just starting out and you're maybe worried, and this is like something very serious that you maybe feel like you had incorrect training, like Julie was saying when she was with her former company, she felt like she was learning a lot of manipulative tactics that were kind of underhanded. This could be a good conference for you. And honestly, I'm sure the in person component is much different because you get to network and you get to chat with people and talk with others. And it's, I'm sure, just totally different. So, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. Bye.